this is where it gets kind of tough, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna work my way through this here, because I hope that it helps people. A couple weeks later, I got a phone call. The nurse says, well, this and this look good, but then she starts throwing all kinds of numbers and letters at me, and what does that mean? She said, well, it means you might have cancer. As I'm looking at my kids and my beautiful wife, there was a lot of drive from that, and not knowing how much time you have uh, is a game changer. But you have to live your life, and you have to take action, and do the things that make you who you are, and just go.
If you're struggling to take action, to get outside of your own head, and to stay consistent with video, this one interview will change your business forever. Listen to this crazy story. I bring on Shane and Tracy Bernal. Shane started his YouTube channel in the middle of getting chemotherapy just after he got diagnosed with cancer. He's introverted. He says he's the least techie person you're going to meet, but he took action. He followed my blueprint, and now he's closing over $440,000 in commission from his YouTube channel. This interview is going to be something that will reveal the secrets as to what it takes to take action, how you can find an easy solution even if you're introverted or not techie, and what you could do to see massive results from your YouTube channel even if you're just getting started. Now, two quick things before bringing on Shane and Tracy. Number one, I will link their channel below so that you could check it out and see exactly what type of content we are referencing. And number two, I will link his calendar below in case you would like to chat with him and his incredible wife about what it could be like to get their support to take your business to the next level, all for free. But without further ado, let's eliminate all excuses and figure out what it takes for you to take massive action going forward with your YouTube channel and see massive results like Shane and Tracy have, despite all odds against them. All right, Shane and Tracy, so really excited to have you guys on here today. Your journey has been nothing short of incredible and a miracle, truthfully. But I think this is going to be something that really inspires people to take massive action, and I'm excited to dive deeper. So before I start diving into how you've been able to see so much success with YouTube, let's start with who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what got you to this point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Shane and Tracy Bernal, we're in Southern California. I've been in real estate for about 20 years now. When I first started, 20 years ago, I was kind of got into sales for the first couple of years. Very old school stuff, door knocking, uh, passing out notepads and calendars and that sort of thing. And the market kind of changed at that point. We're talking like 2005, 6, 7. And there came a lot of opportunity on the investing side. And so kind of transitioned over to that. And that kind of suited me a little bit better. I didn't really like the salesy part of real estate, how it was taught at that time. Right. So the investing thing was more appealing to me, and we did, really well with that. Up until a couple years ago, when we kind of decided to get back into sales. And
So I've been a teacher since '04. I taught elementary and middle school, and COVID hit. That was pretty rough for everyone and all parents who remember having their kids at home for school. And then in 2021 in March, Shane was diagnosed with cancer, which completely changed our world. And so, when that happened, it really makes you reflect on a lot of things and what you're doing, what you want to do. And so we just kind of talked about, well, what would it look like if I could join you? We could spend more time together, doing real estate, and, we could kind of switch to the sales side of it. And so he was a broker at that time, used to doing everything on his own. And so we knew we didn't want to do the old school marketing. We knew it needed to be, more modern. It needed to be social media, which we knew nothing about. Our social media accounts we probably had them, but there was nothing on. And even if you look now, besides YouTube, like we still don't have much. So, I signed Shane up for a course online. It was like a 2 or 3 day course, and I was still teaching. So I said, hey, you need to do this course, like check it out and see how it goes. And
Yeah, this is actually kind of a funny story. This is how we found you, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but Tracy signed me up for someone else's course, and I'm not. You probably remember I'm not a tech person. It's not my thing. I don't enjoy it. I'm more of a hands-on. I need to feel and touch and that sort of thing. So Tracy signed me up for this course. I barely even could figure out how to log on and watch it. It was somebody that I wasn't really jiving with, and like whatever. I was just kind of sitting there, and I saw this thing that chat, right? I didn't even know what that was. I clicked on it, then I see all these comments and all this stuff, and someone threw your name out there on this thing, and said this person's really good, and I was like, huh, okay. So I Googled your name, and there you were, and that's kind of the story of how we found you. Very much by chance, but it ended up being a pretty magical connection. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's been amazing to see, the fact that you guys made a commitment to go down an avenue that's completely foreign. And I think that's where a lot of people get stumped is they label themselves as not techie, but then they don't do anything to overcome it. And that's one of the many things I admire about what you guys have done is you said, okay, I'm not techie yet. I'm not that good yet, but I can get better. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is they label themselves and use that as a scapegoat as to why they can't execute, why they can't do something,
Mm-hmm.
where there's always a learning curve and you can always get better at something if you commit and, you take massive action like you guys have done. So, you know, let's talk about that because there's a lot of people that are sitting here listening and they're in a radically different position than you guys were in, and they're still not executing. They have their health, they have perceived time, they have a market that is no longer riddled with a pandemic, yet they're still not taking action. So, what was that like for you guys to be able to commit and say, okay, this is a completely different language to me. It's very foreign. It's out of my comfort zone. We're in a crazy market. There's so much uncertainty and not just uncertainty with health, but also the market. What allowed you guys or what pushed you guys to continue to be consistent up to this point?
Yeah. That's great. A great question. So, this is where it gets kind of tough, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna work my way through this here because I hope that it helps people, that need it. But um, I wasn't feeling well, and being in pain wasn't foreign to me. I was a college athlete. I've had numerous orthopedic surgeries and that sort of thing, but something didn't feel right. My bones, like so I ended up calling the doctor. This was when everything was still, you couldn't go into the office. You had to, grab a camera and show them where it hurts and all that kind of stuff. Right. So did that. They sent me in for some lab work. And a couple weeks later, I got a phone call and they called me like 6 o'clock at night. We're getting ready to have dinner. I'm looking at my kids literally. And the nurse says, well, this, and this look good, but and then she starts throwing all kinds of numbers and letters at me. And what does that mean? She said, well, it means you might have cancer. As I'm looking at my kids and my beautiful wife. And, we were comfortable financially. That we've always had a nice house to live in, but there's always been a little bit of fear on my part of, not being able to provide enough for my kids, not being able to give them the opportunities, and having them be safe, and just be able to take advantage of life and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of drive from that. And not knowing how much time you have uh, is a game changer, right? Um, uh, so, and I knew real estate, and I knew, we had done really well on the investing side. Like I said, I knew there was a lot of potential there. Um, I hope that it doesn't take something that drastic for people to take action, you know, but that's kind of was obviously a huge motivating factor. And I think the first time you and I talked, I think I had already had surgery, um, but the we were still kind of in that time period where it had a good chance of coming back. So after you and I talked, it came back. And I pretty much had to commit to like a year, like 12 to 18 months of this treatment that was just horrible. Um, I couldn't think right. I mean, I lost a ton of weight, which probably wasn't a bad thing, but, um, I was, I couldn't physically. I mean, it's amazing how you hear these stories about how powerful this stuff is and this different treatments and how it just wipes you out. And it's true. I'm here to tell you, like, not just physically, but mentally. Um, but we pushed through it. We literally started making videos like in the thick of that treatment, and it was hard. It was really hard. you know Number one, because it was something that I had to learn how to do, like you said. um, Number two, because I I was so tired, and my mind was so unclear throughout that time that without her. And I know you don't like taking credit for a lot of stuff, but you certainly deserve some. Without your roadmap, you know maybe we would have found something else, but Tracy really dug in and looked at a lot of other stuff, and there was nothing out there that teed it up like you did. So, as much as you probably don't want to hear it, Mike, because I know you're a pretty humble guy. Like, we owe a lot of that to you. And you know, like I said, it was hard, but if we could do it, if I could do it, if she could, be there and guide me through it, I know anybody is capable of doing this, following the roadmap that you've set up for everybody.
And you asked, like, what was it that, made you take action? There's these people who just haven't taken action. They have everything. And I think it just boils down to having like that strong enough why, and, take somebody else's experience and get your why from that. So you don't have to, go through that. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could have very easily just laid down. Like I said, we were comfortable, right? I mean, money was, we were going to be fine, but, I wasn't comfortable. Like, okay. And I don't know how much detail you want to go into on this, but, like any other totally unreasonable person, as soon as I found out that news, I jumped on the internet, and, it looks like I only have a couple years left. And, that, and I had to like kind of ride that out, because obviously there's a battery of tests and, biopsies and this and that. And you don't really get the end result for quite some time. And even now it's like, I have to go back and get tested every few months, and and all that kind of stuff. So it's always hanging over your head. But you have to live your life, and you have to take action, and do the things that make you who you are, and just go.
Yeah. Well, it's so heartwarming to hear what you guys have been through, and truthfully, I've never shared this with you guys, but I've talked to thousands of agents over the last 4 years, um, and I remember the call with you like yesterday, and that really hit with me because I remember um, I actually took a screenshot of our call and I sent it to my parents and told them that I loved them that day, because of what it meant to me, and to just know that you know what you guys are going through is a forced reminder of the misunderstanding that we don't know how much time we have left. There's a lot of people that wait until it's too late. And that's one of the things that I've started to work on ever since that conversation, is realizing, even me at 31, turning 32 in, just over a week, I don't know if that's what I've got, and I
Yeah.
think it's important to be able to operate. And like you said, Tracy, to constantly remind yourself of that why, because many people wait until it's too late. And then it's much more difficult to reverse that. So, what you guys have done is incredible. And I would love to, really unpack how the heck you took action while going through that. How did you find a way to not just do something you're familiar with while going through treatment, but, embarking on a completely new chapter? What were you doing on YouTube? How were you recording? Like, how were you editing? What the heck did that process look like? Because
Yeah.
I remember that call, and you guys said, I'm going to do this. And I remember you were very transparent. You said, I don't know how much time I have left, and you want to build this opportunity in this nest egg for your family, bar something unforeseen happening.
Yeah.
And you went and did it. And I'd love to know what you did.
Well, I don't know if you remember what you said to me when I told you all that stuff, but you were basically like, I got you, I got you. And having you say that, gave, and Tracy actually wasn't on that call. Yeah, you got to meet her a little bit later, but so she wasn't there when you and I had that conversation. And something about being with my family, obviously we're very close, we always have been. It probably made that conversation a little easier having her not be there, but having that reinforcement from you, and that was the first step. And how you handled that conversation, I couldn't imagine having that conversation with somebody else. I'm basically coming to you and saying, hey, I need your help, this is what's going on, and I don't even know how much longer I'm going to live. Like, how do you respond to something like that? And that was the first step, and it was huge, because it could have, I don't know, it might have ended right there, but it didn't, because of what you said. So that was step number one. And step number two obviously was jumping on and just learning the basics. Fortunately, we were able to have Tracy come, leave her teaching job and really help kick things into gear. But yeah, we definitely had to do things a little different, because, as far as, kind of going out and doing a lot of on-site stuff, me moving around a lot, and that, it just wasn't really happening, so we ended up doing a lot of the stuff at home, just kind of a little in-home makeshift studio with some very basic equipment. I would gather up the energy, like, depending on what we were doing. If we were doing a new home tour, I would just have to go shoot some video when I felt good, go film the houses and that sort of thing. And then I'd be wiped out, come home and rest. And, then we would come up with our script. And because I couldn't just speak, without having something in front of me. Like I said, one of the things that, that really I struggled with was clarity, going through all of that treatment and just coming up with words. It wasn't happening, so we did that, a script. And, Tracy can kind of fill you in a little bit more on things that she did on her end.
Yeah. So, we jumped into the Social Agent Academy, looked at all the YouTube stuff. So, I mean, you have it step by step, exactly what to do. So it's like, okay, but when it's time to turn the camera on and film, that's the hard part. And Shane, he's a major, like, he's as far as you can go on the introvert scale. It's like, I'm like, how are you even this far over? So he's like not the person to be in front of the camera. Plus he didn't feel well. So, he was like, this is so dumb. Like, I'm talking to this camera. Like, this is so weird. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to make a video of it and I'll like show the behind the scenes. Cause, we have, clip after clip, like hundreds of them of all these mess ups. And I'm like, okay, we had this large iPad with the script written on it, like on a stand next to a camera, and he's like still is like, I can't do this. And then we have this really, really sweet friend of ours who's like the nicest lady you could ever meet. So I printed up her picture and put it next to the camera, and I'm like, just pretend like you're talking to her. And he's like, okay, so like that's how we started. It was like so rough. It took an entire week to film one video. I mean, and like you said, like he would be so tired. So we could only do a really small amount per day. So it was an entire week to get a video done. And it was hard. And, now it's like, I laugh sometimes because he can, he'll go film the video within like 10 minutes he's done. And it's just no comparison. We've developed a system that has made it a lot easier for him and how he works and all of that. But it was just hard. And I think, just, it was almost like he had to do it.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a choice not to.
That's how I felt, right? That's how I felt. And just to touch on something else, and I'm no hero, I'm no Superman, but we had a lot of things working against us at that point. And one of them was, like Tracy said, I don't know how much you know about this, but I am a major introvert. And that's why, back, 18 years ago when I transitioned from sales to the investing side, that worked so much better for me because you didn't have to have a lot of interaction. It was more of a numbers game and, dealing with, the construction side of it. I was totally fine. And I felt good in that space. Right. But, as far as the sales part, and probably a lot of it was just not having the right education, but being an introvert and jumping in front of a camera was like, I didn't even like taking pictures, like I'm that kind of person. Like I don't like attention. I don't like to sit in the front row, so having all those things working against me again, I just want to really reiterate that if I could do it at that point, anybody can do it. And I really want to drive that home because I want people that, maybe they're on the fence and they're really close to taking that next step. Just do it. It may not be easy. It certainly wasn't for me. But if you just push through it, everything will start kind of lining up, what works best for you. Some people are really good at going out and, throwing the camera in front of their face and walking through a house and doing that. That's not me. It wasn't. And it's actually still not, but what we're doing works really well, So one of the things I heard you were actually talking to another person that was an introvert. And, I think people at some point had some sort of misconception that you did not think that scripting was a good thing. And that's not the case. I've heard you say that time and time again. You take the roadmap and you have to make little tweaks, and it's not hard to do. You do what you're comfortable with doing and just do it, and you'll start attracting people. And that's another thing, is you'll attract the kind of people that, that you connect with you and what you're saying and how you present yourself and that sort of thing, but again, it's just go, just do it. If it's in your heart to do it, get past yourself, get over your fear. If you're not feeling good, if you're shot, whatever, just do it, just get to work, and the clarity will kick in at some point, like I feel that's where we are right now. Like, the vision is very clear and it becomes easy, it becomes easy.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, and I think it goes back to one of those things where, if somebody's in a situation currently that's painful, the only way that you'll get out of that is if you replace it with something that's more painful than what you're currently dealing with. So
Yeah.
if you're in a dire situation, and maybe it's financially, maybe it's health, the only way
Yeah.
that you're going to get outside of that is to say, hey, I know this sucks, but it's way more painful not to have this outcome that will protect my family or put food on the table or whatever that person's situation is. And it goes, Ed Mileto says that which you do not hate you'll eventually tolerate, right? And so many people just tolerate where they're at because it's not important enough to them. And you guys had that constant reminder, that allowed you to say, hey, it is what it is. I am an introvert, but there's people out there just like me, who want to hear from me, and find your own way to do it. And I love that you've done that. I'd actually like to really unpack that, because there are a lot of introverts that watch these videos, and they oftentimes, again, use that label as an excuse. Most people don't know that I was always an introvert, and through putting out enough content, been able to grow and build. But if you see me most of the time, I'm, here cozy in my house, away from everybody, doing my own thing. But
Yeah.
I can flip that on now because I've done it for 7 years. But what did that look like for you to be able to find your own introverted way to execute? Because I know you guys have, how did you come up with the script? How did you film? I think you even would film and then record the voiceover at home. You use different platforms. So why don't you walk through what that whole workflow was like for any given video that you would put out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we obviously studied first, like, okay, let's look and see what are other people doing, who's in our area. And there were several realtors in our area in California where there's a million realtors where people are leaving the state. And there were some with thousands of subscribers. So I'm like, okay, we need to like do this really well. And like part of like our values is quality. Like we want what we do to be done well. So we studied it. And Shane, we tried having him go out and on site and talking and walking through, and it was like we just realized we're not doing it this way. It didn't work. We were all frustrated at the end of the day. So what we wound up doing is filming first. So, for example, if we were doing new home construction, he would go and he would just walk through the model, and he's really good with getting the details, which a lot of our clients really like. They're like, you do such a good job filming every detail of the house. So they've watched it like 100 times. They know the house before we even go there because he's done a really good job filming it. So he did that. And then at first we were hiring someone to go do drone footage for us, but that was inconvenient with scheduling because, you need to be able to do things quickly at the last minute because schedules can be crazy. You can't plan everything out. And so we were like, okay, what can we do? And Shane went along with the guy who was filming for us. The guy taught him how to fly the drone.
Mm-hmm.
Shane loves it.
Yeah.
It's his absolute favorite part of the whole process now. He's like, if I could go fly the drone all day, that would be great. So he would go film, fly the drone, we'd get the information we need. And then we come home and write the script. So we just would use Google Docs to write the script. We've tried Chat GPT. I've tried to program like every script we've ever done into Chat GPT to create Shane's voice, but he's so particular about how he likes his scripts. Like even I'll usually do a draft, but he'll still go and change it after, because he's just very particular about, he's like, I don't speak that way. I want it to be like this. So that takes still the longest time is the script.
One of the things, Mike, and I'm glad she touched on that was, again, going back to going through this treatment and all of that stuff. I mean, it was so hard for me to, get my thoughts clear, that writing the script the exact way that I speak even was important. Like, joining two words together versus having them separate. Like, I mean, that much detail, I really needed that. And, in doing that, that just I continued that on, and like I said, it's one of those things that at first, when you write something, if you're not I guess a speaker or presenter or something like that. I don't know how those guys do it. I don't know when you ever do, but how they prepare those. But for me, that much detail was needed for me to get through a script at that time. But like I said, it's just one of those things that kind of carried over and became easy to write that way.
So yeah, so we'll use Google Docs to get the script at this point. At first, we, like I told you, had the iPad and he was like trying to read it from the doc, and he's like trying to put the camera in the right spot. So, it was a mess. So I'm like, okay, we need a teleprompter. So we found Big View. Now we just throw the script into Big View. He has it set on like you have to test like what speed's right. I think 190-ish is like where you like it now. But there were times that I'm like, no, that was too fast. You need to go like film that again. Like it sounds funny or too slow, So
Right.
we have like the right speed in there. He films it very quickly now with that. It's so easy having the teleprompter. And we have a studio at home with the same background that he uses every time. He has his setup with just a ring light. We initially started with like a bigger light and like tried to do like a little bit fancier stuff, even when we were like going out to film, even like using a gimbal. Like we tried to get a good gimbal to use. We didn't like how it works. So like we just use the iPhone.
Very basic.
One ring light to film at home with Big View, and it's so easy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we were just to cover, the equipment, right? I mean, we have a drone that was like a few $100, but and that's one of those things also that like Tracy said, I actually enjoy doing that. That's fun, right? To get that thing up in the sky, but it's all very quick now, I mean, and it's not rocket science. I could probably send our 14-year-old out to do that stuff for us now, and get a few drone shots, and you walk through, and like Tracy said, I tried gimbals, I tried all this fancy equipment, but I just walk through and just hold the camera, my iPhone in my hand, and it comes out really well. I mean, these phones nowadays, I mean, they're so capable, so I mean, really, in terms of cost, you can keep it very basic, and equipment, you can keep it very basic, and your background, it doesn't have to be crazy. You can go get stuff from the thrift store and throw it behind you, so budget wise, I mean, it's very doable.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes it really easy is, when you film on site, you have like things that come up and get in the way. There's other people who are walking there, or the mic. So we did do that a couple times, and for listing videos with a videographer, you film on site. But for all of our other videos, it's easy because we don't have to worry about all of those things that come up. The wind, like it's too windy, and now you can hear it in the mic. So it really helps with all of those things too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And plus, like, going back to the whole introvert thing, like, there was no way in hell I was going to go out there with a camera while people are walking around, and, like that wasn't happening, and now, like Tracy said, when we, now the only time we really do that is for our listing videos, which we have a great, videographer that does that. And now I don't care anymore. I mean, we're out, in this really nice gated community by the pool, and there are some people in the pool. I'm like, yeah, whatever, just do my thing. So it's just one of those things that, you just, like I said, you have to kind of get over yourself and just go do it, Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so then as far as the process, so we have the speaking footage, we have the B-roll footage. And at first I was editing everything. So, I mean, we were doing everything ourselves. So, I just used like iMovie to edit, put everything together in there, follow your steps on the SEO for YouTube. And, it got to be like very easy to do. I just, after a while, I didn't like editing anymore. I was like, okay, I'm tired of this. And we needed more help. So we wound up hiring a VA who's amazing. And so now, we can put everything on Dropbox and, Big View, and use Asana to manage the project. And we've trained her to do everything, the SEO, the thumbnail, like all of it. So now it's so nice that she can do that. She loves doing it. And
Yeah. And that's a process too, right? And that's, one kind of part of the systems and processes that we have in place now is it wasn't, this magical VA didn't appear out of nowhere. Tracy really dug into, how to hire a VA, how to train a VA. And it took time. She worked really hard on that. But now it's great, Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. It's I like they really talked about the fact that you're now at this point where you kind of enjoy it, and I think so many people are looking at the current state or current situation of hating it without realizing that you're always going to hate something new in the beginning. It's always going to be difficult. It's going to be foreign. It's overwhelming. It's unnatural. But it's like riding a bike, and then eventually, once you get to the point where you can balance, you start to enjoy it a little bit and find pleasure in it. And people just need to commit for long enough in order to get to that point where they're on the other side. And one of the things that you guys have gone through, and I would love for you to really kind of talk about this a little bit, is understanding the type of content that you put out and shifting and tailoring your content to the right markets, because so many people think that to elevate your price point, it's this ridiculous additional effort that you need to do in order to break into a different price point. Or, there's a lot of agents, as the market shifts, who knows what's going to happen post-election now, but many people operate their business one way. And when the market shifts, they stay very stubborn and say, this is my target avatar. I'm just going to keep going after those people, even if those people aren't where the opportunity lies anymore. So you guys have done well with not just embracing something that's, uncomfortable for you, but then you've been able to take it that next step and be able to be agile with it and adjust and pivot with it to cater yourself to different types of clients and different price points. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah.
So I remember hearing somebody say, because we're constantly learning. Like, I think that's really important, to constantly be learning and trying, things out. But one of the people I was listening to said, real estate is always exchanging hands. Like, somebody's always purchasing. You just need to find out who it is. And last year, when rates really hiked up, I was like, okay, who is purchasing right now, and which people do rates not affect as much? So it was like, okay, we thought maybe 55 plus, like a lot of them, have already had their home paid off, or they're moving from a more expensive place to here and paying cash. So they might not be as affected. Or in new home construction, a lot of them are able to do lower rate incentives. So we're like, okay, we're going to really hit hard 55 plus and new homes, with a focus on incentives. And then we start getting people who call us from those places. So it's like, oh, it's like magic. Whatever you put out there, those are the people who call you. So I don't think I really understood that about YouTube. Like, I remember when we sat down and talked to you the first time, and you said, I didn't know I'm a teacher, so I'm like, no clue about any of this besides what I hear from Shane. And you said, okay, you need to focus on three things: YouTube, a CRM, and your calendar. And I'm like, okay, I have the calendar down. I understand that. YouTube, we have you to learn from. And then I didn't even know what a CRM was. So, learned, what that is, how to manage it. And then, and just like going back to YouTube and how it works, I just didn't understand that whatever you put out, people come. I remember hearing people talk about like a client avatar. And I'm like, so you just make up like, oh, I want this client to be this, this, and this, and that's who comes? Like, that doesn't make sense, but
Right.
It kind of does.
Yeah. Yeah. Tracy nailed it. I mean, it's like, we saw that, and, okay, these are the people that we want to attract. So we started putting out that message and those videos, and, and the phone starts ringing, and it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, like you said, Mike, I mean, that's something you have to stay on top of, and, maybe you're not in that market. Maybe your market's completely different, but you have to do a little bit of research and, figure out, who are the people that are moving in, who are the people that are buying houses at this time, yeah, that's just kind of part of the deal that, you have to monitor that and be ready to, change things up a little bit. But in doing that, you're really the process is still the same. The process is still the same. Um, even like footage that we have from doing community tours, like, I mean, a lot of the stuff you don't have to do it again. You just have to change your message a little bit. Once you have, your systems and processes in place, the outline is basically still the same. It's just the words that go into the different paragraphs.
Yeah, and we have templates for everything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's our script for our new home community template, or
Mhm.
community tour template, and
Right.
so it's just kind of
Doesn't matter
plug
if
and
it's
play.
it doesn't matter if it's a 55 plus community or a brand new luxury community, or it's all kind of the like I said, the outline, the template is the same.
And people want to see what they want to buy, so show them something that they can buy, and that's going to attract them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you know, what I love that you guys have really honed in on is finding what works for you, because you've taken what I've done and, what others have seen success with, but you've really massaged it to the point where you've kept the foundation of what's proven to work, but you've completely tailored it radically to what works for you, your lifestyle, the time you have, the energy that you have, the personality style that you have, to make it easy. Because I find a lot of people are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. They're trying to be something that they're not. They're trying to do what works for somebody completely different, assuming that if it worked for them, that's the only way. But you guys have really carved out this space where it feels comfortable for you, or at least as comfortable as it can, for doing something that's a little out of the ordinary. But one of the things that, I'd love for you to also touch on is the importance of consistency, because it's not like you guys are putting up videos every single day. And a lot of people tend to overestimate what it takes in order to start to build. You guys are closing over 400,000, approaching, hopefully this year over 500,000 in commission from your YouTube channel. But you've got a very, structured routine, if you will, that I think allows you to have confidence that if you just stay in that routine and stay in your own lane, that the results will come. So on a weekly basis, what does that look like for you when it comes to taking time, blocking off time to prep your content, and all of Shane's beautiful scripts? And then how often are you posting?
Yeah. So, as far as the time part, right? It's it's a lot easier now, obviously, than it was, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. A lot of our time now, like, we don't miss any of our kids stuff, and family time. That pretty much gets blocked out first, right? And I think, we certainly could put in a lot more hours, but I think even at this point right now, I don't think we'll have a problem doubling what we did this year and sacrificing more time next year. I think we'll be able to double what we did this year easily in the same amount of time, the same amount of videos and all that kind of stuff that we did this year. So first and foremost, that's, our calendar is, the family stuff, the kids stuff. And as far as, videos, for a while we were doing 2 a week, which, that really got things going. 2 videos a week, I think, is probably the best thing if when you're first starting out.
Well, first one, because you just have to figure out how to get one out there.
Right,
and we
right.
did one for a long time.
Yeah.
Until we were like, hey, we think 2 would be good. And it really was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
But it's hard to keep up with 2 of like those type of videos. Like, you have to be very intentional and very planned. And to be quite honest, this year's been kind of crazy. We bought a house that needed to be gutted and has been so time consuming.
Yeah.
So you've talked about like having a floor and a ceiling. And so like our ceiling for YouTube is 2 a week and our floor is 1. So like we are going to put one video on YouTube no matter what. Like we know how important that is.
Mhm.
So even when we were like really, really busy between clients and this house, our VA was able to like rehash some videos for us, and we weren't even doing anything, and she was getting them put out on YouTube for us, which was so nice.
Yeah.
So I think like we're gonna still get better about our calendar with blocking time, but to be honest, like our family time is blocked first, and we just kind of fill in like everything else. We know what needs to happen. We can write scripts at any time of day, like late at night, earlier in the morning. Um, Obviously, filming can't be done that easily, but we can use footage we already have because we do have a lot. So
Yeah.
that is a little flexible.
Yeah.
But we just know like we are going to put one video out no matter what. Like, the quick, like when we're like, oh, we don't have a video plan for next week. What are we doing? Quick move-in videos are really nice for new homes. They're attractive to people. And so that's kind of one that we kind of fall back on when we know like next week we'll probably be doing a quick move-in.
Yeah. I think things kind of got out of whack a little bit too. And that's, and we ended up having a really good year. But like Tracy said, probably, gosh, about halfway through this year, we ended up buying a new house that was just ended up being a construction nightmare. And, so for several months, of this year that we ended up doing pretty well, I'm not going to say we wasted a lot of time, but we had to commit a lot of time to this house project, so that really um, took away, I think we'll get back to doing 2 videos a week. I think that's kind of the magic number, and under normal circumstances, it's not a problem anymore, with the systems and processes that we have in place, and our, having the VA and all of that good stuff. Yeah, I would say we really like doing 2, but you have, if you can only do one, do one, and do it every week of the year. Christmas, Thanksgiving, throw a video out there. Don't take any weeks off.
And we learned that from you. I remember you saying like, don't make this mistake of not posting anything. So it's like, okay, there's no way we're going a week without having a video out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And, I love that you've been able to prioritize what actually matters, because I think people fail to remind themselves that you'll always be able to make time for your priorities. And, for you guys and like many others, family is the priority, and being able to block that off first now gives you an accurate representation of the amount of time you actually have to work with. Whereas people do it the opposite. They block off content, and then they're trying to squeeze family in, and it's weighing on their head because they're like, oh my God, I'm not spending time with the kids, and I need to get these videos out sooner so I can go spend time with the kids, instead of just prioritizing that content and family first. And I love that you've been able to do that. For me, I do the same with health. I block off when I go to the gym, when I do cardio, when I stretch, when I sleep, when I eat, and then I fit everything else into it around that, so that at least I know I'm taking care of what matters right now. And you guys have done so well with that, but also just that really important concept of doing something is better than doing nothing, because as soon as you break momentum completely and you do nothing, that's when you really start running into troubles. And I've done that in the past, and the amount of effort it takes to ramp back up to gain traction is
Yeah.
far greater than most people are expecting. So I love that you guys have been able to find that floor and say, come hell or high water, I'm at least doing this because I know that I can, because to me it's a priority, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and you touched on your health, and I mean, and it's the same thing with that. It's like, if you take 3 or 4 days off from the gym, it takes a lot of mental, fortitude to really get back into it. Whereas if you just kind of keep going through it and stay consistent, it's easier. Health, work, everything. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, the journey that you guys have gone on is nothing shy of inspirational, and I think it's just so beautiful that you've finally been able to share this with people because I've known about it, but what you've done is just unbelievable to see the momentum that you're having. And I like that you said that you shouldn't have a problem doubling, because that's the beautiful part about focusing on YouTube, is that it's evergreen. It compounds year over year. You're starting, most people start January 1st, 2025 at ground zero. Okay, I got
Mhm.
to go make my calls again. I got to go make my knocks again. Um, but when you look at YouTube, you've got, tens or hundreds or, even dozens of videos that are sitting there continuing to build momentum for you. And I think, you guys have just been such an exceptional example of that. As we bring it together, I'd really like to understand why you decided to go with EXP, because, looking at the situation that you were previously in, it would be very easy for somebody to say, especially as a broker, I need to align with somebody locally that could be here to help with my videos when I'm not around, or can do this and be there for my clients when I'm, doing my, treatments and things like that. But you decided to go down a different path. What made you kind of explore that opportunity?
Yeah, several things, and I'll start and let Tracy uh, go from there. But as far as being a broker, there's a lot, and I think a lot of people. I was much younger when I got my broker's license, and starting out at a local office, and like, why am I giving these people 20% of every deal, and I could make way more money as a broker, and but what people, me, and I'm sure some other people don't realize is all the responsibility, and you know all the paperwork, and all the this and that compliance, and and god forbid something goes sideways, and there's you have to dedicate time to dealing with these things that you know shouldn't have to spend your time doing. It takes away from your production. So um that's a big thing, especially today, especially with everything that's going on in the world today with real estate. um if you're going to be a broker, you're going to be dedicating a lot of your time to doing things other than selling houses and generating leads. So that was a big part. And I obviously went through that and learned that the hard way. But it sort of worked because it was kind of more of a one man show, especially when it came to the investing side. you know but yeah, but now, as far as being in sales, like, you can't do it all. And just to have the comfort of having a good brokerage, and a good broker, and people to lean on. I mean, we have so much support. Things that I would have to deal with myself in the past, I call up a broker and say, hey, this is what's going on, and nope, no problem, get back to work, I'll take care of that for you. That's priceless in terms of time. you know um and another thing was, obviously finding you, and everything that you had to offer. And we really couldn't find that anywhere else. I mean, sure, there were some other people doing similar things, but not laid out the way you had everything laid out. So those are kind of the two big ones for me.
Yeah, I agree, with what Shane said. And I almost feel like we found EXP by accident, which I don't think anything happens by accident. I, believe that, God led us to you and EXP, and it all works out well. But yeah, when we saw what you had to offer, I was like, okay, we don't know how to do social media. Mike has everything laid out. That's just like a no brainer. And then taking off the liability, I didn't really know a lot about EXP. And the more that I've learned, the more I'm just like, we were losing money by not being at EXP. Like, when you,
Yeah.
if you're going to be, high production, it makes no sense to not be with them. So, just once you learn about it, then you understand the mistake you're making by not being with them. But I
Right.
think, some people might have, a bad idea about it, like, oh, people trying to recruit them or whatever, that type of thing. And so they're not open to it. But once you do actually look at it, there's not really, you don't really have to decide. It makes the decision for you.
Yeah, and there are some brokers. I mean, call them old school, call them what you want, but they feel like they're going to lose maybe that control, or or even just their company name, right? Maybe that's like super important to them, and maybe they don't realize like you can carry all that stuff over, um, and the reality is that you control your own destiny, whether you're working for a broker or whether you're your own broker. um, but you certainly don't get all of the support that that you need to be successful uh, in production doing it on your own.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, like you say, it's important to, do your research and not take a
Yeah.
biased opinion based on what you've heard before, because so many people are turning a blind eye to an opportunity that could be that catalyst to changing their lives and the businesses, but they've heard about it the wrong way from somebody, or somebody that was pushy or didn't have the right values and same alignment. And it's goes back to what most people say about EXP is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you look at the math, you look at the opportunity and aligning with the right group. It's the same reason why I turned a blind eye to it for years and then decided to come, and it radically changed my life for the better. So, as we pull this full circle, guys, you guys are obviously servants at heart. You love to help people, you love to pour into people. You've been through so much yourselves. And, one of the things that I'm a huge advocate of is life happens for you, not to you. And oftentimes, when things happen for you that are, you know, not so ideal, you're able to package that in some way, shape, or form and use it to impact positively somebody that's a younger version of you, whether it be age wise or experience wise, and somebody that's looking to take their business and life to the next level. What can people expect when deciding to partner with you, knowing that they get myself and both of you to help take their businesses to the next level?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, everything that the Wolf Pack has to offer that you've designed step by step, and then the way that we've tailored it, and the systems and the processes that we've used to make it simple and doable with our life and, family and that kind of thing, and just easy. And, I'm an educator at heart. That's my experience. So I look at everything from that perspective. And, I'm happy, we're both happy to help people and teach them everything that we've had that have helped us, has helped us to be successful and easy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And they kind of, the cool thing, I absolutely love working with Tracy. I mean, it's going through all of that, and I mean, we've always been super close. We've always had a great relationship, but over the last 3 years, I couldn't imagine it would be so strong. I never, like I said, it's always been great, but it just continues to get better. And kind of coming from two different backgrounds, Tracy being an educator, me being in real estate for the last 20 years, um, we kind of, people kind of get both of us, and kind of a couple different sides. Tracy's obviously, she's one of the most organized people I've ever met. She's very good at doing research. She's very good at, very complimentary of the things that I don't necessarily care to do. Like you said, you can learn how to do anything if you want to, but it's nice that we kind of complement each other that way. I'm able to go out and do things, and she's able to do things, and we kind of combine together. And I think that's something that also we have to offer people is the two different perspectives. Obviously, along with everything that you've given us and continue to give other people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I encourage people to book a call with you guys. And the link's going to be in the description, because so many people didn't have the year that they were planning this year. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. Oftentimes people just need to surround themselves with the right people that are willing to share and contribute and, collaborate to get their business to that next level. And it's oftentimes not as far to reach as most people are assuming. They just need to be around the right people that are going to help. So guys, any final words for people that are looking to get started on their journey, or maybe are, holding themselves back from taking action?
Yeah, go ahead, babe.
Just turn the camera on. just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever the reason is, I think again, it kind of goes back to, like you and Tracy say, your why. Find it, find whatever that is, and, beat yourself over the head with it if you need to. But figure that out. I think until you figure that out, you're not really gonna, do what you need to do. So figure that out. If you need help figuring it out, get help to figure it out, do whatever you need to do. And then just take it and run with it.
I agree. Well, that couldn't be ended on a better note. So again, guys, thank you so much for being, so honest, vulnerable, transparent, and, really sharing what it took for you guys to push through some of the most difficult times, but now to become role models for so many other people. So for anybody listening, again, please make sure you book your call with Shane and Tracy in the description below. Check out their YouTube channel to use it as a reference where you can do. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.